Hi, and welcome to another edition of our People First interview series, where we shine a light on great companies that not only do interesting and cool work, but most importantly, look after their people. Identifi Global is a market leader in personalized career management and talent acquisition, specializing in the legal tech and legal services market, with great candidate experience guaranteed. Check out identifiglobal.com for more information and the roles that we cover. This week, I have the honor of welcoming Dave Newick, CEO of Arken Legal. Arken Legal is transforming the global estate planning industry with digital technology, which delivers businesses efficiencies whilst reducing risk and enabling customer acquisition. Hi, Dave. How are you?
I am really well. Yeah. Thank you for having me on here today, Pete. It's great to be here talking with you. We've got a lot in common. Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. So whereabouts are you in the world?
Based down in the southeast. So the office is based in Westerham, and I don't live very far from there. So nice part of the world.
Fantastic. So tell us about you then, Dave. We're obviously here to talk about people. So let's start with you. You're obviously not from Kent. There's a bit of an accent.
Definitely an accent, yeah. And firstly, to explain, I am from New Zealand. So if you can't understand anything I say, then you just need to understand that New Zealanders only have one vowel, and that's you, right? So if you kind of have that in mind whenever you're kind of trying to interpret what I'm saying, that may help. So originally from New Zealand, came over here in the 90s, did a 3-year stint here when I was a very much younger man. And then went back and had a couple of kids and started a couple of businesses, did a few different things, and then came back to the UK in 2018 to run the Arkan business, and have been here now. It's actually 3 years that has gone by very, very quickly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you've had a pandemic in the middle in some of that as well, haven't you? So yeah, great. So to tell us a bit more about Arken Legal then. So what do you do, and sort of who are your customers, if you like?
Yeah. So Arken Legal plays in the bereavement space. Now, that's kind of an icky subject, and it's one of those things that people don't really like to talk about, and it's kind of an area of legal tech that is underappreciated. But the wills, probate and trusts market is worth around about £1.5 billion, and that's growing at 4% a year. So the market itself is quite sizable. The business that we run particularly is in the pre-death part of bereavement. So if you imagine that as you start to think about passing on your inheritance, and you start to think about preparing for bereavement, you need a will, you need to think about LPAs in case you're incapacitated, you need to start thinking about advanced decisions and all these other kind of documents and things that you need to start doing to plan effectively. And that's what we do. We provide solutions for practitioners, lawyers mostly, but also will writers, accountants who can do some probate work, and will writers who produce and do a lot of online work in terms of online wills. So we provide solutions for them. Okay. Document automation solutions, business efficiency, online will solutions. That's kind of what we've built over many, many, many years. It's a SaaS business, everything's in the cloud. And we have around about sort of 600 customers, although obviously that's changing all the time. So one of the larger players, in fact, the largest player in our space, customers in UK, in South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia. So I wouldn't say a global business, but very definitely an international business. Right, yeah. And some of those customers have been with us for many, many, many years.
Fantastic. As I'm sort of developing my knowledge in the legal tech space, specifically, the problems that you're solving, if you like, in your case around sort of wills and probates, is that it's interesting that how much of this is repeatable, and actually, how the technology plays into that and provides those efficiencies. But more importantly, the consumers of legal services want more digital services as well. So it's interesting to see how this develops, and your product specifically about how that works. So it's really fascinating. So thanks for that. And I think it's important that because I always do a really bad intro of the company, so it's better that you tell people about it rather than me. But let's move on to the business end. So for those that are listening, I came across Dave's profile, and Dave mentioned, we share a lot of similarities, and a lot. Dave talks a lot about sort of culture and diversity and the importance of mindset on LinkedIn, and a lot of the Dave's posts. If you haven't seen them, go and check them out. Talk about the benefits of doing these and really looking after yourself as well as looking after other people, and I guess just generally having a positive mental attitude. So it felt natural to speak to Dave and ask him to come on the show to talk about the importance of looking after their people. So Dave, as I mentioned, you're quite active, and what drives you to share these views? Because people often think about these things but don't necessarily put them out there. What is it that sort of makes you do this?
Yeah, well, look, it's been a difficult time, hasn't it? And a lot of people have been struggling, and a lot of people have been unduly affected by the sort of negativity that has been in the press, and it just seems to have been sort of 360 degrees of negative emotions like fear and concern and all these sorts of things. And so when I looked at that and reflected on what I could do to help, you've really got to be able to kind of stand up at the end of it, don't you? Having realized and done everything that you possibly could to try and help. And so really that's where that's coming from. And if I can help people just by being positive and by sending positive messages and by sending the benefit of some of the experiences that I've had, some of the hardships that I've confronted, some of the opportunities I've had to do things like leading football clubs and seeing some of the things that have really worked for us there, the organizational successes that we've had, to share that and to put it out there, I guess, basically on a medium for people to buy into or not, but at least then I can look in the mirror and say, hey, I've done everything I could to try and help people. So that's certainly one part of it. I think the other part of it is that sometimes you've got to write, and one of the things that lockdown's done for me personally is that I've got back in touch because I've had more time to actually sort of connect with some of these things. And I had a particular experience where I just woke up one morning. I thought, wow, I've just got to write this article. It's just kind of pouring out of me. And I think you read that one, and that was one of the ones that I wrote about the importance of ABCDs. And so for me, lockdown has actually been a positive thing in that respect. And so that's then fed into obviously putting that out there, trying to help people. And look, overall, I think, well, I hope that it's helped. I think it's probably helped within our own company. I know that people have told me within Arken that it resonates with them. So at some level, if I can help one person, and I know that hand on heart I've done everything that I can to help everybody else around me, then that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say in touch, do you mean in touch with yourself in terms of understanding your own sort of feelings and your motivations and things like that?
Yeah, that's right. Look, we get really busy, don't we? And when you're running around, I was running around the country. I was on trains and up to London and some very, very long days. And of course, my shareholder lives in New Zealand, so we were having conversations late at night, and we're a very, very go fast business, and there's just a lot happening, and you don't really get the time to do much else except actually just recover in the weekends, do you? So yeah, I think lockdown's given me that opportunity to actually create some time. I can still do my day's work and get things done really efficiently, but actually get out for a walk, do stuff that kind of enables me to be more at peace, to be able to reflect on things, to actually calm my mind. And out of that, we start to see these thought processes, and I found that really beneficial.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and my industry is very much the same. It's just constant, full tilt, moving at pace all the time, and just when you think you're resting, something else comes along and you go again, and actually, yeah, you're right. The weekends is really just for your sort of. All you focus on is relaxing or spending time with your family or doing whatever it is that you do that when you're not working. Ready to go again in the week, and we've sort of discussed this previously, is that a lot of people have taken this time to understand, okay, am I in the right place, doing the right thing for the right people? And, hopefully most people are, but, there's lots of people that, we're talking about people losing their jobs, but I think there's a lot of people want to move jobs when the time comes right, because they've decided that actually this isn't for me, or, I decided that other things are more important. And hopefully that's a positive movement for everybody, because nobody wants anyone to work for them that doesn't want to work for them, right? You want people that are engaged and want to push forward. But yeah, I think that's a really important, and hopefully one of the benefits to come out of this situation is actually people become more self-aware, more conscious.
Yeah, and what I hope, and what I've seen, is that people off the back of that kind of self-consciousness are starting to become much more aware of the importance of the people around them and how they can influence the people around them. And I'm talking about your local community, your neighbours, your family, your friends, because this pandemic has meant that everyone is sharing the same kind of set of circumstances, the same difficulties, the same challenges. Okay, look, there's going to be individual circumstances for sure, but we're all united by this. And I think that is one of the good things, if you look at it positively, that's come out of the pandemic, that actually when you understand that, then the best thing you can do is to go and help other people. And in helping other people, that actually you feel better about yourself, and you understand more about who you are, and that then from a community, from a society perspective, is in my opinion a really good thing. And I hope that's sustainable. I hope that's one of the things that carries on after the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a human nature, isn't it, to want to contribute, to help, to have purpose, I guess. Ultimately, is that's it's what drives, I would say, most people, and everybody's version of purpose is different. And
Yes.
and purpose is something that you talk a lot about. And again, one of the things that I picked up on, why is that? Why is purpose important to you? And why do you? Well, how does that resonate in your business, for example? How do you engage that in your business?
Yeah, purpose is important to me, and yes, I guess I do talk a lot about it, and my team would tell you that I talk a lot about it internally as well. Look, that's important to me personally, really, because I have this fundamental belief that you're here once, and you've got an opportunity to do something with your life, and that's me. And different people have a different approach, but for me, I like to know that actually my time here is going to make a difference. And as a young man, you kind of have these beliefs that you might be one of the privileged few who can actually change the world. And as you get older, you start to realize, well, actually, the point of this of being here is actually not that you're going to change that world. You're not going to be a Steve Jobs, but you can change your world. And I guess for me, in terms of my personal purpose, it's about trying to do everything I can to help the people around me, and I can do that in lots of different ways. Within the organization, I think if you look at purpose, it encompasses all parts of a business. So you're talking about the company's mission, you're talking about its strategy, you're talking about, and a SaaS business like ours, it's product roadmap, it's product strategy. You're talking about the individuals within that business and their part of contributing to the overall purpose. And there's real power in that. There's a real, let's call it, I'm going to get all mystical on you, but let's call it the magic, which is what I like to kind of refer to it as. Picture yourself, if you like, in terms of a metaphor. You're at a football game, and your team are, kind of 2-1 up, but they're sitting back and they're getting hammered, right? And you're holding on and holding on, and the crowd is up, and you are part of this great organism. It's like that within a business. There's power in that. If you can take that, everyone's actually running with the same purpose. They're dedicated to that. When they get out of bed in the morning, that is what matters. Then you're going to get a whole lot of power in terms of discretionary effort, in terms of belief, in terms of passion, that you just don't get if you don't have purpose.
Yeah.
So we use it a lot. And look, we're not fully formed on it. It's difficult because in a fast-growing organization, you've got to bring new people in and make sure that they understand what the purpose is. And in a business, your purpose changes. I mean, we're reevaluating all of our strategies at the moment, and there's going to be kind of a bigger, wider purpose that we're going to bring into the business. But the key thing is that purpose exists, and in all businesses it does. It's just that in some businesses, it's been obscured by layers of business process, or perhaps, there's some cultural aspects which are getting in the way of people actually being united and driving towards a purpose. And, or perhaps it's just been left behind because people got too busy and they kind of lost track of it. But for me, businesses started because somebody somewhere along the line said, hey, we should do this because it's going to solve these problems. And our purpose is actually helping this group of people solve these sorts of problems. So yeah, look, it's, as you can tell, something I'm really passionate about. And look, can I just say that from a football perspective, I was lucky enough to run a football club in New Zealand, and I think you saw this in one of my articles. We were big on purpose. We used to call the parts of purpose the totem poles of the club, and they were called totem poles because they were the things that people would revolve around, and they'd be gravitated towards because they were things that mattered. And so within the football club, most football clubs would say, hey, we want to win trophies, and hey, we want to develop the best youth players, and we wanted to do all those things. But actually our purpose was to sit at the heart of the community and to bring quite a broken community together and to provide aspirational pathways for kids to have positive messages in their lives. And that was our purpose. And what happened was we got a whole lot of people gravitating towards that, particularly the mums and dads, because they could see that this was a fantastic thing for the kids to be involved in. They were great it was great for them to be involved with as well, because they could see all their friends, and the whole thing was fantastic.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, it's because of purpose, because they bought into the purpose, because it mattered.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those mystical words, isn't it? Purpose, that and I think it changes at different stages of an organization's life cycle. And in a startup environment, I think the purpose is obvious, right? It's it's all about solving customer problems and just being unique and diverse, and everyone buys into that. And then as it grows, it becomes a little bit more corporate, and it's still that doesn't go away, but the purpose changes in terms of what you're trying to achieve to get that expansion to the next phase and things like that. So, I mean, what challenge have you experienced in that? Because it's you're evangelical about it, which is fantastic, and we're going to come on to perhaps where that comes from in a second. But perhaps it's easy to say it's all good, but perhaps some of the challenges you might have faced when experiencing, building a purpose-driven environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, perhaps just a little story. When I came into the Arken business, fantastic business, great products, some brilliant people have been with the business for a long period of time, but had a lack of purpose. And that was very clear to me when I came in as the CEO. And that manifested itself in terms of different parts of the business not talking to each other, and there being no clear idea as to why we did what we did. What was it that we were trying to actually achieve here, and why was it that we were trying to achieve that? So the challenges that we confronted in that particular circumstance was that you needed to instill that purpose in the business, and that hadn't existed before. And so, of course, that involved change, and change is hard, and people are suspicious of anything new. And so there was this equally receptiveness to the idea, but it was always going to take some time to transition people to get from where they were to where the purpose really started to make a difference. Look, I think in the lockdown, if you look at it over the last year or so, it's been more difficult. It's a lot easier for the staff and for the executive when you're physically there and you can kind of be seen, and the passion and the water cooler conversations, all those sorts of things are much easier to do when you're there in person. But that just means that it's a more challenging kind of a situation, and you've just got to adjust. You've got to find different ways to make sure that everyone is really, really clear on what the purpose is.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking on from there, then, what initiatives have you implemented then to support your people and your culture and that purpose? Certainly over the last, over the last sort of 12 months or so. But have you had to adapt that moving forward?
Yeah, so probably the big one is that we've implemented the 4-day working week.
Wow. Okay.
Now that's still quite new, obviously, and the reason for that is that Andrew Barnes, who is our shareholder, is the evangelist for the 4-day working week globally, and he was very keen to extend that opportunity to us, providing we could hit a few milestones, which we did towards the latter half of last year. So we're still in trial, but essentially, for anybody listening, the way that works is that you get 100% of your pay, but you work 80% of the hours, so 4 days a week, and you need to deliver 100% of your productivity. So the thinking behind that is that actually there's a whole lot of wasted time in a 5-day working week. Now, I have to say, thinking, well, we're a really purpose-driven business. We really go fast. Do we actually have a day's capacity? Have to say, based on what I'm seeing now, that we have not lost any productivity. And in fact, it's been a really, really good thing over lockdown because it's just given people some more time and space. It's given them the opportunity to spend more time with kids. You know, if you've got mums who are homeschooling, you've got parents homeschooling, you've got people who just need to get out of the house to go and do some exercise, to go and do stuff. We've introduced yoga classes on a Friday morning. That's a new thing for me. I must be hitting middle age because I'm doing yoga, but I love that. That's been really good, and the team have enjoyed that as well. A couple of little tactical things which we've done. We started out, the shock and awe first lockdown. That was kind of a cool lockdown, wasn't it? This one's kind of
in the summer,
so then we did the WhatsApp groups and what have you, and I think everybody was doing those. But one of the little things that we realized over time that people were actually missing from being physically there with their colleagues was the sharing the good news. So it's actually those little things like, hey, well done you, that's fantastic. If I was, and we were in an open plan office and I hear one of the sales team having a difficult call or managing something really well, I'd go over to them and say, well done, that was fantastic. And that was just kind of part of the way we'd work. And of course, when you're not in the office, you don't get that. So we started just recently a thing called the Good News Board. And that is basically where people just post up their wins. It can be really small. It doesn't have to be, something major, although there is a lot of major stuff in there. And that's been really, really positive. I think, it's given everyone else an opportunity to applaud their teammates and for people to actually get some recognition. So that's been a really good thing. I think, more of an agile structure, that's definitely helped us. Right. We weren't as agile as we needed to be. So that was part and parcel of moving to the 4-day working week. All of those things together made a difference. And, you wrap your purpose around that and the clarity around what everyone is needing to achieve and what we're trying to achieve, and it all starts to come together.
Yeah. I think you're the first business I've come across that's really working the 4-day week, and obviously, and I understand why now. If you've got your founders and is one of the drivers behind that, and having the confidence to implement it, because it's one of those things that sounds fantastic, but as you've said, the nervousness around actually implementing it is another thing as well. So, has anyone not welcomed it? Has anyone sort of said, actually, I'd prefer to do the 5 days, or was the whole business sort of taking it on?
Initially, it does come back to a little bit of kind of personal circumstance, and some people just kind of felt that they didn't want to change. If I just reflect on my own circumstance, I've spent many years working 5 days a week. I actually found it really hard. So when we implemented it, I just keep working on a Friday. I was like, excellent, I've got some time, I can get some stuff done. And that was more about me not kind of getting my head around the fact that the world had changed. And but now I try and take a 4-day working week, at least 2 days in the month. And that has just been fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And as we start to get into summer and get our freedoms back and things, and can start traveling, those 3-day weekends are going to be absolutely superb.
Yeah, fantastic. So I want to just jump back a little bit, if we don't mind, because we passed over it, and I guess you're the the CEO of a successful up and coming legal tech business, and but everyone assumes that business owners have sort of had the way paved for them. But you've actually come from quite a difficult background in New Zealand, if you don't mind me saying, and you talked about that sort of football team within that environment, and this is some of the things that we share for the listeners. I also manage a football team, so we'll probably talk all day about football analogies, but yeah, let's talk about where I guess your path, Dave, to where you are now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no trouble at all. So I grew up in Auckland, New Zealand. Auckland is the largest city in New Zealand. When I say large, it's about 1.5 million people, so it's not that large by UK standards, but it's large in New Zealand. Within Auckland, I grew up in West Auckland, and West Auckland is, if you said that to people, they go, "Ooh, West Auckland," that's a bit of a tough environment. And look, I had a wonderful upbringing, a brilliant family, and the street that I lived in was superb because it was full of kids my own age, and it was a very multicultural street. So we had Pacific Islander Māori families and people from all around the world, really. A Russian man who lived across the street. It was brilliant. And so for me, that was really quite formative in terms of the way in which I grew up, because I just have grown up not seeing colour, and I don't see sort of, gender or background or anything else. They're just people. And that's always been my experience. And I've taken that through to the way that I live my life now, and also the way that I run my businesses. I just, there's a lot of talk, and there needs to be, around diversity, and it's a really tricky and emotional subject, and obviously there's a lot of press coverage around that. And it doesn't matter what I say, I might upset somebody, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But what I do want to say is that for us at Arkan, that we don't see it. It's true equality. We have 50-50 split in terms of females and males, and we really try hard to just work on capability. That's it. Are they the right person? I don't care about anything else other than those two things.
Yeah. So
does that kind of answer the question?
It does. Yeah. No. And I guess where I was leading with that question, I guess, was how somebody's background perhaps translates into how they run a business, and because you've come from a diverse background, and I mean, you sort of touched it there about you've got the diversity between men and women, but it wasn't always like that, wasn't it? I think actually you're probably being a little bit modest in a sense. Actually, you were very proactive in trying to mix that up a little bit, and actually in trying to change things, because when you joined, it wasn't quite that split, was it?
No, when I joined, we had one female in a business with about 16 staff, and so now we're at 50-50, and I have to say that's been a really good move. We and funnily enough, we didn't actually set out to do that, but the people who were put forward for positions were the best people, and so we hired them, and it's just great now that we're in this kind of place where we've got a really diverse and gender balanced environment. Can I just talk about the football thing for a moment too? Because sure. I'm not going to talk all day about it, but I could. So that background for me, when I went to go and run the football club, that was in another area of or a suburb really on the north shore of Auckland, and that suburb has got some real problems with alcoholism. It's got a very low socioeconomic area in terms of average earnings. It's got a lot of drug problems. There's a lot of broken families there. There's a lot of migrants in that area. So all the way through my coaching, I was coaching people from all around the world. Afghani boys, and I had a wonderful couple of Japanese lads, and people from a lot of Africans from different African nations, and that was absolutely superb because for me, coming from my background, all that mattered was, are you a good footballer?
Yeah.
Can I help you? How can I help you? And again, in this kind of football environment and within the club overall, we just had this wonderful, wonderful melting pot of a load of different people from all sorts of different backgrounds. The key thing here, just to tie it back to purpose, is that regardless of who they were, regardless of their background, regardless of the country they came from, how much money they earned, the car they drove, they were all united by the purpose. They all came together in this involvement with the football club, and those things just didn't matter. All that mattered was the people, and that was really a fantastic thing for me to see and to be privileged enough to lead, because you can then see the power of sport. Absolutely. But above that, you can see the power of purpose. And if you take that into an organizational context in terms of the business world, that all very much holds true.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many parallels between, sport or team sports in general. Obviously, there are individual sports, and that really comes down to mental attitude. And again,
Yes.
there's lots of parallels in that into the business environment. And you're absolutely right. In a team environment, you're based on ability, and and it's come in, are you good? And if not, do you have the potential to be good? And let's develop and train that and push that forward. And I think if organizations take that approach, it's not clearly, you have to, there's times where people just can't do, they're just not capable of, and there's different levels for people to operate at within sport. But with any football team, if you've got the ability and the leader of that team has the mental attitude to develop and coach and train and and support, then the possibilities are endless. And we've all watched there's millions of up and coming films that that sort of share that attitude, isn't it? Where the one that was left out ends up winning the game or whatever. Yes. So but I think it's absolutely important. So and again, I guess where I was going with that was that I guess when you're used to that background and when you move into an environment where it's not like that, then actually you notice it, as opposed to then all of a sudden doing it because it's a good thing. And actually you become uncomfortable because you're not used to the environment that you're used to, which is multicultural, diverse, and purpose driven, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. So it's when you identify those things, you then set about changing them for the better. So I just find that fascinating that when we talk about diversity and inclusion, I talk to lots of companies that say, well, we're talking about it. I'm like, well, what are you doing about it?
Yes.
And that there's a difference. And and you've done a lot of that, and you've done some of the hard yards, and now you're starting to benefit from that, and you're going to move forward, and no doubt it'll continue. So it's an interesting viewpoint. So in terms of your people then, so a couple of quick fire questions I tend to finish up on, Dave, is around what leadership means to you. And for people listening to this that perhaps looking at your new opportunities, or perhaps looking to get into the legal tech world, what can they expect from you? What does leadership mean to you?
Well, at a high level, it's really about helping individuals and organizations discover and achieve their purpose. So if I had to come up with a statement around what it was, then that would be it. Look, I think it's a privilege. It's a fantastic thing to be able to work with people and see them grow and evolve. And I know that a lot of people say that, but for me, I get a real kick out of that. I love seeing some of the kids I've coached go on and become fantastic young men and young women. I love seeing the development of my staff in the Arken environment, and they come in and over a very short period of time really start to evolve and grow. And I think that's just absolutely brilliant. And you really hope that someday that they'll overtake you, that they'll come and be a CEO themselves, and that you can through perhaps the benefit of your experience and the experience they have within Arkan, that they can learn the lessons here and go off and do different things as well. So Yeah, look, I think leadership is certainly more challenging these days, isn't it, than what it ever has been. And there's been some head scratching moments, absolutely, in the last year. And I for anybody else listening who's running a business, look, I salute you. I know how blimmin' tough it can be to be a leader. First lockdown happened, and I must admit, I thought, good Lord, this is one of the toughest challenges. And I tell you, I've been through some tough challenges. I've had warring shareholders and all sorts of different things, and this came along. So look, I get it, and it's certainly not easy, but being positive, being strong, being the energy in the room, creating time and space for yourself to sit back from the problems and really frame them up and deal with them one by one, I think has been kind of the approach that I've been able to take, which has helped me grow as a leader and hopefully help the Arken business as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And then what piece of advice would you give your peers running this bit, navigating this period, perhaps listening to this thinking, okay, how do I turn the ship on a purpose-driven environment? How do I get that in? What sort of piece of advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, look, I think sit back, first of all, and take a look at your business. Every business has some fantastic parts to it. And they might be covered in layers of things that you don't want, but rediscover your purpose and be really clear about that, and be very, very open-minded about what that purpose might be, because it might be different to what you think it is. Talk to other people, talk to your staff, talk to your customers, talk to other people about what their problems are and what they think your purpose actually is. So I would start with that, absolutely. I think purpose has a very, very large part to play in navigating a way through this difficult period, but also post that, because we've been through this before, you and I, Pete. The economy, I think, is going to get tougher. We're going to find it harder going, and you need to be in a position to still perform, to still produce your growth, to still provide sort of robust financial performance. Purpose can absolutely help with doing that. The last thing I'd say, just for any leaders out there, is that for me, I've found that just really, really working hard on being the positive voice of reason, and that doesn't mean that you're soft. My staff will tell you that I will be very tough around targets and what we need to achieve, and that doesn't change. But it's the way in which you go about doing that, and there's an opportunity here, I think, to leave a lasting legacy if we think about that as an outcome of the pandemic, not just within the business, but within your staff as well. So they will be looking to us as leaders. They'll be looking to the business and saying, well, hey, how are you navigating this? How have you navigated this? And do I want to be part of this? Does this resonate with me? Are the values kind of where I want to be? And do I buy into this purpose? So getting all of that together and being really positive about it, I think, will stand us in very, very strong stead as businesses as we push forward into what comes next.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's there's some really great bits in there, and I think the legacy bit I really like, because at the end of this, things will move on, and whether it's the CEO or the MD, whatever it looks like, or the employee, move on. Something changes. It's just the nature of the beast, isn't it? But when you go away, they'll look back and think, well, what was it like then? And they'll learn from that as well. So they'll either learn what they like or they learn what they don't like in those scenarios. Yeah, so
that's exactly right. And look, everybody has a legacy, don't they? And you hope that at a wider level, that, as we referred to before, the legacy of this is that actually we come out bigger, stronger, better, faster people and businesses, because we've learned more, and certainly as communities and as a society, I would certainly hope that we're more unified, that we're more together, that we're more kind, that we understand more of each other, that we're more open, and that change in mindset is actually a fantastic platform for the country and for individual businesses and communities within the country to push forward on.
fantastic comment to finish on. Dave, that's been fantastic. Really enjoyed talking to you. So thank you very much for that. And if you're listening to this and you resonate with Dave and his leadership style, please check out Arken Legal and see what opportunities they have there. I'm sure they'll be interested to hear from you, even if there isn't any opportunities right now, and maybe there'll be ones that are more suitable for you in the future. Dave, thanks very much. Speak to you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye now.